What's up guys, it's Josh from Keep It Techie, and today I want to do a quick video showing you guys Reborn OS. So as I stated in the intro of the video, I want to show you guys Reborn OS. Well, a couple years ago, before I actually switched to Arch, the base Arch version of Linux, I started off by using a distribution called Antergos, and I really liked that distribution. You know what I'm saying? It gave me a sense of using Arch without actually going through the installation of Arch, which I didn't fully understand at the time. And this allowed me to test out Arch and see if I really liked Arch and if I wanted to go on and try to do the install. So I used Antergos for a couple months and really enjoyed using a Arch distribution. And I also went through the install of Arch, on Antergos using virtual machines, just to learn how to actually install the OS before I did it on my physical machine. Which is one thing I recommend you guys do if you want to try Arch, is to grab a Arch based distribution and install it on your system using the installer and test out Arch and just see if you like it. But anyway, I want to go through and look at Reborn OS, and the reason I told you about me using Antergos, this distribution actually is a continuation of Antergos. Every now and then a distribution will stop getting developed on by the owner of the distribution. So a lot of times people that are fans of that distribution, and if they have programming background, they'll go on and take over that distribution. And that's what happened in this case. Actually, Antergos went away and then Reborn OS actually came out after that. And the project was taken over by some new developers and they're continuing on with the project. So that's kind of where Reborn OS came from. And I wanted to go down and do a quick install and review just to show you guys a little bit about Reborn OS. This is a clean looking Arch based distribution that I want a lot of people to try out, especially if you're interested in using Arch. This will be a stepping stone that will allow you to, move to Arch later on. So let's go down and go to their website right fast, and I want to just read a little bit about it and show you guys Reborn OS, what it's all about. So let's get to the website. Okay, cool. So this is Reborn OS. This is their website. The website link is rebornos.org, and I'll link it down in the description box of the video. But this is pretty much the homepage. They have, a lot of documentation. They have a GitLabs page, all that good stuff. But let's read a little bit on the main page. But this is where you actually get the ISO if you want to try it out. So just hit the download button. It'll take you, and actually let me go to it so you guys can see where to download it. And if we scroll down, you'll see they have multiple places you could download the ISO. And let's go to the download page just to show you guys what it looks like. You could just go here and there should be a ISO. Yeah, and there it is right there. So this is the ISO, this is the torrent, so you can use that option if you want to. But let's go down and close this right fast and go back to the website, and let's just read a little bit about it. I'm gonna go to the about page, and this is basically information about the team, the Reborn OS team. Here are all the people that are actually developing it. So shout out to those guys for continuing on the Antergos project, because I really liked it. And then also let's go back to the main page right fast, because I just wanted to show you what they say on the main page. Nearly unlimited choices. There's one cool thing about it, and I haven't seen the installer yet, but based on what they're saying, they should have a whole bunch of desktop environments on here, and you can install multiple ones if you wanted to, if it's anything like Antergos. But just to show you guys, it says KDE, GNOME, Deepin, Budgie, Cinnamon, Mate, and I remember a lot of all these desktops within the installer for Antergos. So it looks like they kept that same tradition. But let's see, OpenBox, so they got window managers, i3, XFCE, Enlightenment, and LXQT. Those are all desktop. Those are the main desktops they highlight. And then also it says over 30 optional features, and that's one thing I'm excited to see about the installer. It has a whole bunch of features and they're optional. That's one cool thing. That's what made me like Orch in the first place, is installing a base operating system and installing what I want on that operating system versus downloading, installing a distribution, and they put what they think you should like on the system. You can obviously go through and remove it all, but I like to have that freedom to install what I specifically want on the distribution. So that's one cool thing about this. And if we go down here, it says made with you, made for you. That's kind of like their slogan. It says, unfortunately, most Linux distributions will give you a basic install that doesn't really give you a lot of customization. People just have to distro hop until they find the Linux distribution that works for them. One may pick Ubuntu for its easy use, Zorin for a desktop, or Manjaro for the sleek skin and rolling release cycle. Eventually, you end up trying every distribution under the sun to find the one with the best package manager, the best desktop, and the smallest memory footprint, the least upkeep, and so on. Reborn OS strives to eliminate the stress of trying to find the best distro by doing it all. So yeah, like I stated earlier, what it says is, it comes with all the different desktops, within the installer. So you should be good to go. And let's scroll down. It says high performance, Flatpak support, which is cool. So if you guys want to use Flatpaks, it does support Flatpaks. And Ambox support, which is basically, Wine geared towards like Android applications. You can use that as well. So they have support for that as well. And then if we scroll down a little bit more, it says Reborn OS comes with the capability for you to roll back all packages to the previous date, made easy through the tool Reborn updates and maintenance. So we'll check out this tool though when we actually get into it, which is, a cool maintenance application. And then if we go down a little further, it says ever installed a distro only to find out that you have to get rid of a lot of pre-installed programs and bloat? Well, no longer. Here at Reborn OS, we trust you to know exactly what you want. And that's basically what I was saying earlier. I like distributions that give you the option to install what you want specifically. So that's all I wanted to show you guys on the website. Let's go on and I already have the ISO downloaded, and I also have a virtual machine built. So let's go on and get started with the install. Okay, cool. So I already had a system up and running. This is a virtual machine. I gave it like 8 gigs of memory, 4 processing cores, and a 40 gigabyte hard drive, which should be more than enough to install the system. And one thing I'll do is install multiple desktops, so the install may take a little longer than usual, but lately I've been skipping the install. I want you guys to watch that full install where it's just moving a bar across the screen. So I'll go on and skip that part. But as soon as you boot up the system, it'll pop up with the actual installer, and it basically says Reborn OS, and this is the GNOME desktop. This is what the GNOME desktop will look like on Reborn OS. So, and I won't install GNOME. I'll install like Budgie and XFCE just so you guys could get an idea of what they look like on Reborn. So let's go on and start with the install. So let's hit the install, and then select English, and then up here is where you move forward. So you just hit the right arrow, just hit that right arrow, and it says right here, for best results, please ensure your computer has at least 8 gigabytes of storage space. So that's cool. It has a low storage, minimal amount of space that you need on the system. And it says it's plugged into a power source, which you should. But this is great information that a lot of installers don't really check. You know what I'm saying? Some of them just check to see if you have a big enough hard drive. At least this gives you the information and you can decide from there. So let's move to the next one. Boom. So let's go to English. I'm in the United States. So let's select the United States, English. Press the right arrow. And then also we could select our time zone. And I'm in America, Los Angeles. And this is cool right here that it has use NTP for clock synchronization. So that allows your system to connect to time servers out there and just synchronize the clock on your system with that. And let's press next. And then here we go with the keyboard layout. So English for me. And they do have other options on the English US, but you should be able to just select the top and good. Now, this is where you go into actually installing the desktop environment. So one thing you have to install is the base. I believe base is something you have to install, but this will install everything and it'll be a command line only system, and it won't have any type of graphical interface. But at that point you can go through and install. It's similar to an Arch install. That's basically what it's doing. It's installing base Arch. And then you know how you have to go in and install your desktop environment, you know, your X server to start up your graphical environment, as well as a window manager and all that good stuff. Now let's I think I wanted to try Budgie. Oh, and it only lets you install one. I thought it would allow you to install two. I think I remember back when I installed Antergos, you can install more than one, but I guess not. But let's go down and install Budgie, because I really like, you know, the Budgie desktop. It's very simple or whatever. It's the flagship desktop for Solus. So the Solus project, they have a really sleek desktop environment. So let's just roll with that one right there. Now this is where you can add your features, and you can go through and select everything you want. One thing it automatically selects is the AUR, so it'll have AUR support. And then let me just read off some of this stuff right fast. The first one is add accessibility packages. So individuals that are blind or visually impaired, you can put those packages on there. I won't need that. But applications to perform system maintenance, so I'm gonna put that on there. Bluetooth support, I won't worry about that because I do have Bluetooth on my system, but I'm not gonna run it through this virtual machine. And let's go on and install the Chrome web browser. And then they have some common photo editing programs and some video editing programs. And I won't worry about Dropbox, but they do have Firefox. And actually, let me not install Chrome. Firefox is fine, and that's cool. They automatically have Google Chrome, like the full release of Google Chrome, and not Chromium, that you can install as well within the installer. So now I want to do free Office. I want to look for Libre. Yeah, there we go. So Libre, and that's cool. They have like multiple browsers in here. You see Opera web browser, so that's there. And like I said, LibreOffice. They have some hardware analysis tools. So a lot of these tools I kind of cover, but these are graphical tools. So we could drop that in there as well. And then you can go through and install games, power saving settings, tools, or whatever. I'll put that on there. Printer support, Redshift. Let's see, that's color temperature adjustment based on local time. I won't put that on there. And then also they have this, which is kind of cool. I don't really like, you know, when they start mixing Windows programs on Linux. It's just nothing I enjoy. I mean, if you want to run Windows programs, then install Windows 10, you know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't prefer that in the actual installer. But so we got everything selected. I won't go through and install all this stuff like Spotify, Steam. They have Steam, Vivaldi, VLC. I'll put VLC on there. Shouldn't take too long with the installer because that's a small application. But that's all I want to do right there. And right here, this is a disclaimer on the Orch user repository. So this is something that Orch even lets you know, that the Orch user repository, is a collection of user submitted packages. So just be wary that these applications come from the community that's centered around it. Now let's just hit close there, and that should go to the next step, and it says cache selection options. It's recommended to use an additional cache. This installer needs to download a ton of packages from the internet. And that's one thing about these distributions, like when Antergos was around, and this, when you go through the installer, it has to download a lot of the packages that you select. So you just want to make sure you understand that and you have a good internet connection. But this allows you to cache certain things as well. So let's hit next. And that was basically selecting the system where a lot of stuff will be installed. So let's press yes here. That's where we want it to be installed. And I'll just use the first option here, which is to let the installer sort the mirrors list, which is something I typically like to do when I install Orch as well. I go through and use the application that'll sort the mirrors list based on my location. So that's basically what this is doing. That way you pull the packages from a closer server and it won't take as long. So let's hit next right there. And then here is, it's gonna ask you to, if you want to erase the disk and install Reborn, and that's cool. And it also gives you the option to encrypt, use LVM. You can also use ZFS with the installation, and set up the home directory on a different partition or volume. If you're using LVM, it'll put it on a different volume. And if you go down here, this is kind of how you set up a dual boot. So if you have Windows on the system or something, you can select down here and you can manually set up your partitions. Otherwise, up here, it'll erase everything that's on the hard drive. Now let's go down and hit next here. Boom. And then it's going to ask you about the drive. This is basically another warning. This is the disk drive that you want to install it on. Then also the bootloader. So you can use systemd boot or grub too. And actually, let's run systemd boot for this install, which is cool. So let's go down and create the account and name it. So I'm gonna name it Reborn OS, and let's type in my username and then the password. And that's cool. That's something I haven't seen as well. I don't know if you guys noticed that. Typically when you start typing in here, it'll automatically put that down as the username. But that's cool that it leaves it open, because if you want to type in, let's say you want to type in your full name, but you only want the first part of your name to be the username that you use to log into it. Like my name is Joshua, but I want my username to just be Josh. So that's cool. They leave that open for you guys. And then also we always select require my password to log on. So let's hit next. Boom. And then this is a summary of everything it's gonna do. And so I'll go down and hit next and let this go down and start the install, and I'll be back when it completes. Okay, cool. So the installation is complete and we're gonna go down and restart the system. I'll go down and skip ahead so you guys ain't got to see the reinstall, but I'll be back when the system is back up. Okay, cool. So I just wanted to go down to show you guys the window manager, or the actual login screen for the system. So that's pretty cool. I like how they had a logo, you know what I'm saying, and my user account is already selected. So let's go on and log into the system and also get those display settings corrected. So just give it a second. Okay, cool. So we had a Budgie desktop install, and this is a base setting or a base desktop environment. It should have all the applications that we selected during the install, and I'll go through and verify that as well. But one thing that happened was it popped up and asked you if you wanted to enable Flatpak. So let's go on and get the screen set up right. That way you guys can see everything on the screen properly. And let's see, keep this configuration, close. All right, cool. So it says Flatpak. Click the button below to get started using Flatpak packages. I won't do that or whatever. I'm gonna just go down and close it. But like it said in the intro or on the website, they do have Flatpak support. So that's one cool thing about Reborn OS, which I don't really care for Flatpaks, but it's there if you want to use it. So, but this is a basic budget desktop. I think I did a video where I installed Solus, which is where this desktop came from. So check that out if you guys want to see Solus OS. I might need to do a updated version because I think they released something recently. But anyway, this is the applet center or whatever. You know, on the right hand side you can click this and it'll open up all your little applets that you have. It's kind of like Conky, or like in Windows 10, you know how you can click on the right side and open up that menu with like alerts and notifications. So that's what, you know, this is for right here, just to show you guys. But anyway, if we start up at the top, you know, it's got the calendar, you know, time calendar, settings, power, volume, battery, notifications. This is the network settings, so you can obviously go in here and set up VPN connections, you know, all that good stuff. This right here, you know, it'll give you alerts based on updates, and right now it says your system is up to date, so it'll constantly be checking to see if there are any updates for the system. But anyway, let's go down and hit the start menu, and actually I clicked on it, but that's how you actually install applications. And right now it might take a minute to update this. This is kind of like the installer that you could use versus, you know, using the command line. And for some reason it's not pulling up any packages right here. So featured, I guess, you know, these are the different categories. But let's see, we can go to repositories. There we go. So Reborn OS, the core, extra, community, and multi-lib. And then also, and just so you guys know, multi-lib stands for multi, you know, libraries. It's basically like 32-bit versus 64-bit applications. So that's what that's for. That's why they call it multi-lib. So it'll have like 32-bit applications. As you can see, you know, 32-bit, 32-bit. So just different libraries that you need. Just to explain that, you know, in case somebody doesn't know what multi-lib is. But if we click on the install, you know what I'm saying, this will show you all the applications that are installed. And if you use Linux, you understand how to actually go through this and manage your applications that are already on here. And then also it'll check for updates here. And you can also refresh the database. You can go into the preferences. This is where you would activate the AUR. If it's not activated, it should be activated because I told it to turn on the AUR. See, AUR, so it's already enabled and checks for updates and all that stuff based on that. And in Flatpaks, you can obviously go in here and enable the Flatpak support as well. And let's go down and close that though. But this is, you know, an application to keep up with your updates as well as applications. Now right here is the software center. So this is where you can kind of look at the feature. This is the feature, basically what it should have shown in the updater. It put it all here. But anyway, this is the featured applications. You can go through categories and see that. You can also see the installed applications. So it actually put a lot of tools on here based on what I selected. So like BleachBit, I think I did hardware tools or performance tools. So this is one performance tool, so that lets you know. I won't go through it. I'll just look at them under the start menu. But yeah, you can go in here and look at the software repositories, you know, update preferences, all that good stuff here as well. As you can see, you know, FlatHub is enabled here. Linux vendor firmware service, you know, is enabled, and then vendor firmware service testing. So let's close that though. But you can go through here and install whatever application you want from here as well. And then you can also search if you want to, you know, find something like GIMP or something. It's already installed, but you can install applications from here as well. So now let's hit the start menu and just kind of go through it. But this, and then also I forgot, this is the file manager. just to show you guys. It's pretty cool the way it looks. You know what I'm saying? I like Budgie. You know what I'm saying? It's basically a simple, desktop, which and clean. You know what I'm saying? So, and let's go down and close that right fast. But let's start with the start menu and just go through everything just so you guys can see. Now, this is cool. I haven't seen an Arch Linux kernel manager. Now, one thing I have seen is on Manjaro, you can go into the kernel management and you can specify what kernel you want to be on. So right now it says Linux 5.9, the LTS 5.4, and then you can manage it or whatever. You can go through and actually upgrade to a newer kernel if you wanted to as they come out. But that's cool right there. I haven't seen that actual application. I haven't even installed it before, so I might play around with that on my main system, just so I can change kernels if I need to. But this is basically all the applications. I won't go through the categories. I'll just go through them all here. But it comes with BleachBit, and this is all based on what I selected when I installed the operating system. But BleachBit, like I said earlier, it's got a calculator, calendar, cheese, which is good for webcams, taking pictures and all that stuff. CMake, contacts, Darktable photo, workflow software, which is cool. I didn't expect that to be here, because Darktables is it's a photo editing software, and I don't know if you guys remember, but I selected install base photo editing software, but Darktables was included, which is pretty cool. So decomp editor, this allows you to manage the disk, which I like the way that looks. It's very GNOME. That's the way GNOME looks. That's GNOME disk. Then disk usage analyzer, that's from GNOME as well. I've seen that on GNOME because before, when I had Antergos, I installed the GNOME desktop because I was kind of stuck on using GNOME, because I was using that from I started off with Ubuntu when they first had like GNOME 2 or something like that. I can't remember what version of Ubuntu I started using Linux on, but I know it had GNOME on it. And so when I first installed Antergos, I was so familiar with GNOME, that's why I installed GNOME. But I eventually, learned XFCE, and I like XFCE. So that's how I kind of transitioned over to XFCE. But anyway, Firefox, firmware. So you can go in and mess with your firmware, install any type of firmware you want on there. And then also I've seen it's a fonts application. You can manage your fonts or view the fonts on the system. You can obviously add them directly to the repository where they are on the system. I think it's under user share, and then the fonts somewhere. I think the desktop, something like that, whatever. And then GIMP, that's included. I assumed that was going to be there when I asked it to install photo editing software. But one thing I haven't seen yet, and oh man, I just seen it. Kdenlive, my favorite video editor, which I assumed that would be included when I installed video editing software. So that's cool that that's on there. And then I told it to install LibreOffice, so it installed the whole suite. And then LightDM, which is the greeter. So that's something you can go in and configure. I think I showed you guys that in the past. But also OpenShot, that's another one. That's one of the ones on my top list of video editors. I think I had it like number 2 or something like that. I think Kdenlive was number 1, but OpenShot was up there as well. I might have been like 2 or 3. But yeah, OpenShot is a good video editor as well. So make sure you guys check that out. But this looks like Rhythmbox, and I'm not 100% sure. No, that's GNOME Music. That's exactly what that is. That's GNOME Music. But that icon looks like Rhythmbox. And then also, this might be like Seahorse, I believe, but it's password key manager. So that's something you need on your system as well. You can store all those passwords. Like when you create like keys or SSH keys, a lot of times, or I recommend you put a password on your SSH keys. But the key ring, what it'll do is it'll store that password. So whenever you connect to SSH. You don't have to type in the password to unlock the private key in order to authenticate to the server. So that's one, you know, cool application you want to have on there. And then that's Gnome Photos, most likely. Print settings, you know what I'm saying, pulse audio, Qt5 settings, and what else, screenshot. That's cool. It's got a screenshot application. So basically, you know, as long as you select kind of like what I selected when it asks you to what applications that you want to install on the system, you should have a good base of a system. Now I wish I could install more than one desktop on this install, but I could obviously go in and install another desktop environment if I wanted to, like XFCE, just to play around with it, just to have multiple desktops. And most likely on the login screen, it'll have a drop down where you can select what desktop environment or what session you want to start. But you know, it has a lot of, you know, system monitoring tools and all that stuff on here, you know, a text editor, so basically everything you need. And they got some tweaks in here. I won't go into that. Okay, cool. And I went on and changed the background, but I just wanted to go into the settings right fast, which you can obviously change the background. But this is where you'll go through and change anything on the system, or, you know, manage all your settings about the system, you know, within the limitations of Budgie, the Budgie desktop environment. So that's one thing, you know, you want to go through, and you can change, you know, pretty much everything on here. So let's go down and close that. I won't go through it. And then if we go down here, I think I've seen tweaks. So this is a way to actually tweak the desktop environment. So you should be able to change the appearance, which is one thing, you know, I like to do. You can change the cursor, you can change the sound defaults, the icons, like the overall icons. You can go in and look at the fonts that are set up for the system. So basically, like all these fonts, like right here, the fonts, you know, throughout the system, you can modify them and change them to show a certain way. And then you got keyboard, mouse settings, you know, startup applications. And if you've used GNOME before, then you shouldn't have any problem learning how to use this desktop environment. But that's pretty much all I wanted to show you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This should be an easy way for you guys to install Arch Linux without having to go through the command line install. So if you're new to Arch Linux, this is a great way to start. That way you can understand how the system works, how you actually install things using Pacman and the command line tools that are provided with this with Arch. You know, you can install it all here and just learn how to actually use Arch. So please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, leave comments down in the comment boxes below. And of course, keep it techie.